Hello, welcome back, and thank you, as always, for tuning in and for your dedication and your commitment to your spiritual practice. Call it whatever you want to call it. Yeah, your path, marathon, full of potholes, maybe, or sprint, or 110-meter high hurdles. Whatever visual analogy suits you the best. The fact that you're here is huge. So, if you take nothing else from the conversation that follows, know that it's the most important gift you could ever give anyone, any place, at any time. I'm referring to your dedication and your commitment to practice. So, for that, I thank you, truly thank you, and on behalf of every living thing, because they all thank you too, whether they say so or not. And of course, most of them will not, as we know. So here we are in the text of A Course in Miracles in chapter 20, section 4. And we're going to talk today about how the Holy Spirit sees things and how deciding with the Holy Spirit, following the guidance of the Holy Spirit, asking for the Holy Spirit's help, support, is changing our mind. It's a completely different interpretation and a completely different way of looking at everything, at ourselves, at others, at the world that appears to surround us. It's a completely different way of seeing. So let's start with a very basic premise. And don't worry if you've heard this before. Here on the spiritual path, the conventional modern attitude of that's so yesterday just doesn't really work. We discover in every arena of life, not simply this one, but all of them, that as adult learners, we need repetition. We need it because it may be the 200th time that you hear the exact same words, that something really, really clicks and the light bulb, this proverbial light bulb that we all talk about, goes on and you get it. That is huge. And perhaps you've had that experience before, more than once. Many of you have had this experience repeatedly. So the Holy Spirit goes by many names, even right here in A Course in Miracles. So this conversation is relevant to all of us. And you may especially have wondered in the past, what exactly is this thing anyway? Perhaps you were raised in a Judeo-Christian tradition or a church or a synagogue or a temple or something that talked about the Holy Spirit. I was raised in one of those, and I always wondered, what is this? I don't really get it, and no one's really telling me. Maybe you can relate to that. So the Holy Spirit may be called whatever you want to call it, and the pronoun it is most certainly appropriate. The Course uses the convention of the masculine pronouns he and him to refer to the Holy Spirit and God, simply a matter of convention. The Holy Spirit goes by many names right here in A Course in Miracles itself. The Answer with a capital A, the Voice for God, which is perhaps the most numerous term, but the Holy Spirit's also known as a communication link, again in caps, mediator, comforter, many different things. So you may call it whatever you want to call it. It, again, is wholly appropriate as a pronoun. The Holy Spirit's not a person, it's not a man, it's not a woman. And anyway, let's not get hung up on names because what you call it makes no difference. A name, think about it, is a label. It's artificial, it's a collection of sounds. A collection of sounds to which we've given all of the meaning that it has for us. You may remember those early workbook lessons that didn't possibly make much sense at first. Yeah, we've given everything that we appear to see all the meaning that it has for us. Name, case in point. You may call the Holy Spirit by multiple names. Call it your counsel if you wish, your guide or guides. The point is our relationship with our inner teacher and cultivating it and following our inner teacher's guidance. This is the term that appears quite a bit on this video series, inner teacher. And I stress inner. That is well worth emphasizing because the Holy Spirit is not outside you. It's part of you. It's part of our mind. It's part of our mind that we could choose to listen to. It's part of our mind that we could invite to decide for us, to interpret things, experience for us. We could decide to do this in the present moment. And it's central to the practice of this course. Hence the repetition here. The Holy Spirit is not outside you. So here in the world, we give our power away. We do. And yeah, it's never really pleasant to acknowledge that. But I mean, this is spirituality. As I'm fond of saying, it's for grown-ups. I mean, really, it is. It's an adult endeavor in that it requires honesty from us. 100% honesty if we're really going to make what we call progress. And you might choose not to, which is your choice. I mean, really, we've all spent countless, well, eons, if you go in for that, or if not, years, decades spinning around and not really getting anywhere. Well, we could choose to get off the hamster wheel if you want to. Just take a little step to the side, the wheel stops, and voila. But it doesn't seem so easy in practice, which we all run into all of the time. Everything that appears to have power over us, we've given that power to it. We have. I mean, this plays out in many different arenas in life. We give this illusion of power to our governments, do we not? At work, we give an illusion of power to our bosses or to their bosses, to the CEO of a corporation. I mean, and what is this power anyway, but an idea? It's that we've all gotten together and agreed, okay, this is so. This is the way it is. So buck up and deal. Yeah. And here's the deal. Nothing in this world can actually harm us unless we give it the power to do so. Nothing can harm us unless we allow it to. Hmm. Unless we give it the power to do so. Real power is of God. Just that. Real power is of God, and it is reawakened in us by the Holy Spirit, part of our mind that knows who, what, and where we are. Our real power is reawakened in the Holy Spirit, through the Holy Spirit, through our connection with this part of our mind. When you think about it, it's very profound and very powerful, isn't it? It's a powerful thought. The Holy Spirit doesn't see sin or illusion. It looks right past it. So, would you rather allow the Holy Spirit to interpret things, your experience, for you and follow its interpretation? Or would you prefer to keep your own, in which you do not have the peace of God and nothing else? We don't, none of us does, or this conversation would not appear to be happening. In fact, it would be 100% unnecessary. But because we have not allowed the Holy Spirit to fully and 100% guide us, we have faltered, and repeatedly, and that's an understatement for sure. The Holy Spirit doesn't see separation, doesn't see sin, and doesn't see our drama, our drama of thinking that the world that appears outside us is our reality, that the physical body is our reality, that all of these extraordinarily gross limitations are our reality. He does not see that. So if we allow the Holy Spirit to decide for us, to lead us, to guide us, we have access to our real power. So what we're all about here is learning to allow that. Allow it. Yeah. Learning to use this power through our practice of true forgiveness, through our relationship with the Holy Spirit. And here in the world, it's quite literally one forgiveness lesson at a time. That's quite simply how we go about it. One extension of love at a time. So, of course, it comes down to a moment to moment choice to follow the guidance of our inner teacher instead of the guidance, the supposed guidance, what passes for the guidance of the ego, which does not know its way. We've simply been following the wrong guide. That's all, really. A simple mistake. Mistakes call for correction. So, practicing this course is therefore all about correcting our perception, We do not see things as they are. So, here, as we practice this course, we're all about learning to see them as they really are. We see our brother as he really is. We see our brother as he really is. We see other people as they really are. And what they really are is not what it looks like on the surface. It's not their height and weight. It's not their carriage or their demeanor or the way that they put themselves out there in the world, in a manner of speaking. It's not in their social status or their rank or position or their bank account or any of that. We learn to see our brother as sinless. We learn to see our brother as he really is. I mean, really. And the power here is, as we do this, so we see ourselves. Not a single one of us can escape the the fact, yeah, that as you see your brother, you see yourself. That's true. As you see other people, you see yourself. So we learn, we choose to see our brother as without sin, as the Son of God, perfectly healed and whole. Is that a moment to moment challenge sometimes? Yes. Most definitely, yes. That is what the practice of true forgiveness is for. When we're disturbed by something that our brother says, for example, on social media, a perfect forgiveness opportunity, if I've ever seen one, somebody's social media feed full of stuff that people post because they can. This is only an example. Anything that disturbs you, anything that provokes this knee jerk gut reaction of judgment of this person doesn't know what they're talking about. And of course, we use stronger language than that in our own minds, whatever that looks like for you. This rush to judgment, this annoyance, perhaps anger or sadness, rage, maybe. Anything that's not wholly joyous is an opportunity for us to truly forgive, to look past the surface level with the Holy Spirit and see our brother as he really is, the Son of God, perfectly healed and whole, radiant, limitless, love itself. As you see him, you see yourself. So we begin to see how very, very important it is to cultivate our relationship with our inner teacher. Call it whatever you want to call it again. This part of our mind that will help us choose. We can give this part of our mind every experience of ours. It seems very threatening at first. If you're wondering, this is kind of threatening. Give every aspect of my experience over to the Holy Spirit. What does that even look like? Well, it looks like a choice, a conscious choice that we all make moment to moment. We fear giving away our power, yet that's exactly what we're doing here in the world when we see ourselves as cut off, separate, and individuals. When we side with separation, the ego, we suffer mightily. We give our power away, and we fail to realize what our real power is and where it comes from and how it's awakened. We give it away. Here in the world, we think that as we give, we're out something, we lack it. That's backwards. And this course tells us and shows us in many, many places that this is indeed backwards, that as you give love, you gain. Now, also, as you give away hatred, projection, and fear, that's what you get back. The same with love. As you give, you gain, you keep it in your mind. This is how it works. We cannot get rid of it. Your brother's not outside you. So you cannot, though you've tried multiple times, I've tried multiple times, we've all tried for a long old time, to project our unconscious guilt, our fear, our rage onto him. Now, we can't do that. There's no separation of any kind. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. This guilt, if you attempt to put it off on someone else, remains in your mind. You keep it in your mind and strengthen it by giving it away. So imagine what would happen if you give love away. You keep it in your mind and strengthen it. It grows stronger as it's given. So salvation can rightly be seen as a lesson in giving, a reawakening in the mind of every living thing of the laws of God. And this is a mind that thinks that it has established other laws that appear to govern us. No, it's a reawakening. It's through the Holy Spirit. So it's very, very important that we learn to cultivate this relationship and see with the Holy Spirit, to allow the Holy Spirit to interpret every situation in our lives for us. It's threatening to the ego, for sure. Any resistance that you experience on the path is the ego. You may 100% count on that. So we go forth and we practice this idea, which quite naturally can seem foreign, especially at first. It can seem rather weird, alien, bizarre. There are many ways to look at that. I mean, at first reading, I mean, who really gets this at first reading, right? We really learn this course by doing it. It is perfectly okay, and it has value. It does to understand these teachings with the intellectual thinking mind. However, that is nowhere near as valuable, nowhere near as important as your practical application of these ideas, because it's in the doing of this course that we truly learn. Our experience does something very powerful. It shows us that these teachings are true. It demonstrates to us, and if you prefer the sometimes cynical modern societal business language of proof, it proves it. You prove it to yourself through putting this into practice. Want proof? Great. That's excellent. This pixelated image on your screen is not going to prove anything to you. You will prove it to yourself. That's how we really learn. That is indeed the most effective way. It's visceral, it's experiential. It is through our experience that we experience the truth of perfect oneness. We experience the love of the Holy Spirit, the love of God. We experience the truth of who, what, and where we all really are right now in the present moment, which, by the way, is as we've always been, and you know it. We all know, or we would not be here. So, to the extent that resistance comes up, it is an opportunity for forgiveness and simply recognize all resistance is of the ego. So questions are quite naturally bound to arise with this and all of these conversations. There is, well, you could say a lot here. If you're thinking, man, this is pretty heavy stuff, it's a lot to unpack. Well, yeah, yeah, that's what time is for. So, along the way, if I can be of any assistance or help to you, of any guidance at all, in terms of answering particular questions that you might have, I'm more than happy to do that. These comments here, this comment thread is an excellent place for questions if you have them. And if you simply wish to just pop in and say hello, I'd love to hear from you. It's an international community, which is great. We can use this technology to reach one another all over the world. So that's what's going on here is the Holy Spirit is, well, broadcasting itself to you. And this is what it looks like on the screen. When something lands for you, it's your inner teacher. You may 100% count on that. So now, if you have not yet subscribed, we'd love to have you join us. That's the prompt here in the corner of your screen. So when you click that, you'll be invited to join us. Thank you to those of you who have recently done so. The community is growing. Again, it's worldwide, which is very cool. So I thank you, as always, for being here and again for your dedication and commitment to practice. And I will see all of you again very soon.